Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. As you can see, I've done part 2 or 3 of the next Lord. I've sat down and actually made the horse armor, among other things. So something that I also did not on the video but off screen is tinker with the horse itself, and now it has an actual functional mouth that doesn't look too bad and I think adds some realism to the whole model itself. But yeah, this is about the horse armor that I made. Luckily this is not a DLC someone has to pay for, so good for us, I guess. And yeah, as you can see, I've started with the base. I don't have a full body suit, obviously, because the horse is just a one-time model, more or less. I don't know, maybe I'll use it again, but yeah, we'll see about it. Yeah, that was the first mistake. Something that I noticed sometimes is when you use the symmetry thingy and then you use the extrude tool, that it doesn't extrude the middle of whatever you're working on, rather just the sides, and the middle just gets this weird V shape, this weird cut in, which I have no idea why it does that. I think it's a technical issue, but I don't really know. So yeah, it sometimes does that. The whole thing is not quite the same as the model, which I will blend in right now for a bit, so you can see the actual model in the game. The actual sprite has like more armor on the head as well, and it looks a bit more fancy than what I'm creating here, but overall this is my adaptation. And yeah, back to the actual video. Working out the head was quite interesting, because I somehow had to cover it in the front. I felt like it was covered in the front, so I did that. I don't know if it's actually covered in the front, and then I tried to cut out the eyes, which kind of didn't really work. So in the end I decided to extrude one of the lines, which worked rather well. And you can see that it just made a very small hole there for the eyes, which works quite well. But yeah, I didn't do the armor on the head, partially because I felt this would be very complex to do, because it is very head shaped, and I feel like the shape of the head is not really quite completely there yet, so yeah, I refrained from doing it. So far the horse is not yet rigged. This is something that I will most likely do with the horse itself. This armored horse version is really just for the one render for the Lord, but I will probably reuse the horse at some point. I don't know yet. I'll have to see. And then I will see about if I can actually make this horse a figure that I can rig clothing and parts to. Something that I have tried to look up, that I've been looking into, and there is some material that would explain how it's done, but I'm not quite 100% sure if I can do this, so no promises here, but if I can work it out, I will definitely make a video about it. Yeah, the backside of the horse in the original has this weird open shape. I think it's just meant to be like add a bit more detail, give a bit more life to the whole thing, and this is why I made the back part like this. Also, you can see that I'm not working with the symmetry anymore, because at some point it just broke. I think when I moved the whole thing a few ticks over, because it wasn't central on the horse, it was a bit shifted, and thus I decided to center it back on the horse. Sorry for that, but I think it somehow broke my symmetry with this. So yeah, this is why it doesn't have real symmetry here. Yeah, next up I worked on the saddle. Relatively simple. I just copy pasted a part of this and then I started to extrude parts of this on the front and then mostly on the back here, which is basically the saddle as I see it in the model. This is relatively close to the original, and I even went through the work and actually later made the reins for the horse. So yeah, the whole model is actually complete. The one thing I didn't do is I want to rework the knight armor that I made quite recently and rework this into the knight armor for the knight. So this is possibly, but not 100% sure, the work I'm gonna do on Wednesday. I'm not 100% on that. Might be I'm doing something else because it's a spooky season already and I want to do some Halloween themed or some spooky themed stuff as well. So we'll see what comes out of it. But yeah, I will definitely try to finish the warrior class relatively close to this. So it might be it's next weekend, or it might be it's this week or the next week on Wednesday. Right now I'm working on the front armor that the horse has. It's also relatively simple kept. And one thing that I did is I made the thickness first. Then I thought, okay, I want to have it thicker. And since I couldn't go back enough steps, I just decided to, or I just had to realign this a bit more by hand, but now it looks thick enough to be actual armor. Even though you don't really completely see it in the render, this was just something I felt I had to do, so it looks okay. So it looks good. And we're actually nearing the end of the video. I did all the line work, all the edges of the fabric, and then I made the reins, which is really just a tube, rather simple, that I then realigned to have the shape of the reins here. And I later decided, or in the process of making this, I decided I want to do this a bit more fancy, a bit more detailed. So this is why there is a second row that you will see in the render on the side. Render is also at the end, but it's the same render. In this case, kind of lazy here. Or am I? I'm probably making another render for this with a knight on top, so just because I can. But yeah, you see the reins have a second row, which I wanted to make to emphasize on the form of this. So yeah, this is basically the whole thing. Last thing obviously is going through all the UV maps, and I definitely have to retouch the UV map of the whole horse armor fabric base thingy, which I started first. This one specifically because the head is very, very small and it doesn't really catch any kind of bump map that I've thrown it, so I have to look into it again and redo it, or at least retouch it so the bump maps work better on the head. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. With this said, here's the final render, and see you guys around.